Stream green.
Now we're good to go.
Now we're good to go. Go ahead, Josh.
I'll start.
Hey, everybody out there in Red Star Land. Coming at you guys again with another Red Star podcast. A week late, but we're going to blame it on the snow.
That's right. Snow in San Antonio.
Texas short-circuited.
Now, let's see if we can check in with our frostbitten friends here. Mike, how you been, bud?
I've been good. I intentionally, when COVID started, got extra chubby in preparation for being cold, for that extra insulation. Now that I will start losing weight, that I will become the fit, six-pack laden demigod that Red Star Gaming and friendly neighborhood game stores across the Tri-City area are used to.
Well, we could always use another demigod. Speaking of demigods, the demigod of beards,
yeah,
Will, how you been, buddy?
I'm doing good. One thing I've noticed that since we've been doing the videos is that my beard is like real wispy, so as I'm moving around, like my beard is kind of just like doing its own little thing. So if I'm drifting off during our conversation, it's because I'm admiring my own beard.
Mesmerizing yourself. I like it.
Yeah. Now it does.
No, man, I'm good. I'm good. It's good to be back, especially after last week, and kind of talking about my favorite part of our hobby, which is the actual hobbying aspect of it.
That's right. Yep.
I'm glad to be here talking about it.
Right on. So what are we going to be chatting about today, Mike?
Well, we want to talk about, like Will said, my favorite part of. Let me rewind this. My favorite part of doing what it is that we do is getting together with your friends and throwing some dice. But let's say I go out every other Friday with the guys, right? Or whatever we arrange to play it. During the entire week, what I'm doing is getting ready and painting and gluing and doing the actual hobby part. So, and I think this is true for all of us, we do more hobbying than we do playing for the overall hobby.
Oh, absolutely.
I think is that not right?
I agree.
Hey, is my video coming in?
Your video is coming in, but and I have to say it's a very cool looking pose. You're frozen.
You're doing a Vogue thing right now.
Yeah, it's a very Vogue.
I like it.
But yeah.
Here you good.
Okay, he's coming back. 3, 2, 1. No connection. What's it about live shows? Yeah, Simon's like, you live for sure now? Yeah, and it looks like it still says the live show that is on right now says episode 6. Okay, Hobby Talk. Okay, good. That's right.
Yeah, I think I got my end sorted out this time. At least I hope I do. But I am technologically ignorant, so y'all bear with me. I'm just a trailer park hillbilly trying to hit buttons in the background and share our little thing we got going on.
That's true. Now we need to get Josh. Is Josh back?
No,
I think I'm here on audio.
Yep.
Yeah, you're here on audio. Okay.
But my video's not coming through. I think I might be having a bandwidth issue. Just give it a second. Which is weird because I got Google Fiber at my house.
You know what I had to do? You have the same webcam I do, right?
Yeah, you and I.
Okay, and your audio's coming out of your headset, right?
No.
I'm talking. Yeah. So Josh.
Yeah, mine's coming out of my headset.
Unplug the webcam and plug it back in. Sometimes it has to do that with Discord.
Is it plugged in, and did you restart it?
Yeah. Did you restart it? Hold the power button down for 20 seconds. What you have to do is reroute the mainframe and nuke the PRAM.
That's all made up.
Anyway, so we get it.
There we go, boys.
And we're back. That's 3 minutes of your lives that you'll never get back if you're watching us tonight.
Let me tell you something about a live show, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna get all of our beautiful grills in pure HD and all the shenanigery that happens live. As a matter of fact, I hope none of us run for office one day because I know one of these shows is going to get us canceled somehow.
We're gonna get attacked by that cancel culture. They're
Yeah,
gonna cancel
yes.
our 6-episode YouTube podcast.
That's right. I'm in this for the influence. I want to be a fitness influencer, and or maybe something in entertainment, and I'm using this little known YouTube channel about tabletop wargaming to kind of launch as a launching point to start my career.
Jumping off point. So when you become famous, you remember us because the only fitness I'm doing is fitness cheese in my belly that I've been eating while we've been trying to get ready.
Fitness taco in our mouth. Anyways, so a lot's happened. Let's see. We had a blizzard, at least San Antonio blizzard, which is funny. Because my wife's from Minnesota, and she's like, this car washing weather, right? But anyways, if you're from the area in our group, you know it was a complete shit show. But very grateful that we all made it out. We had to postpone the show, but here we are today. We're going to be talking about hobbying. One of the reasons it's apropos because our man Josh here just took a massive dive into a new hobby. Josh, you want to relay to the wonderful people out there what it is that you have gotten yourself into?
Well, I've started with the Marvel Crisis Protocol.
This is my Pikachu face.
And the miniatures are awesome. And I got the starter set, and I opened it up and saw 10 models in there and said to myself, well, this isn't going to be enough models.
No.
This is not nearly enough.
This is not nearly enough heroes and villains.
Exactly. I've got 2 roommates that also love Marvel Comics, and I've always wanted to, do wargaming with them. Couldn't get them into the Warhammer, but this is a little different just because it's a lot simpler. Everybody already knows the models. Like, I'm like, look, check it out. It's Beast. Everybody likes Beast. Look, he's blue.
Right. I'm not a big X-Men guy, but yeah, I feel you.
I am. I'm a huge X-Men guy.
And hopefully, let me see how this dude is doing. Aaron says he's in the Discord right now. Anyways, so work with sort of sideways. We need to get this guy in here.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk to him because he's a fellow Death Guard player and he's been putting the work in lately. So I definitely want to have him in.
Okay, I'll tell him to join the sit and chat. Again, this is all while we're live.
So for those that are watching for the first time, that's never seen us do our thing or just half-ass do our thing, we are using multiple programs, but our podcast, while being broadcasted on YouTube, is actually done through our Red Star Gaming Discord server. So that's where you're seeing all of our pretty faces on our Discord server.
That's right. It's where all the hep cats hang out, as it were.
All 6 of us that are active in the Discord server.
Yeah, but you guys, I mean, Jesus Christ, like there's somebody's hosting all the photos you post.
Simon says that we're very professional. So thanks, Simon. Thanks for recognizing all of the hard work that we've been putting into this. You can tell that our prep work is really paying off.
That's right. I think what happened in between the last show and this show is the post-production van that we have, it jacked into Fox News. It went down, so we're having to do this with a hamster.
With a hamster on a wheel tonight than it would have been last Sunday if we'd done this, since nobody had power.
I still knew people that didn't have water, and we were like talking about. I'm like, it just doesn't feel right to do like this gaming podcast and talk about these new models that I painted when there's people that still don't have running water. So, but I will tell you this. I just listened to the Forgotten Chapters, Roman and John's show. Is that the Lost Chapters? Lost Chapters. And they were talking about Marvel Crisis Protocol. And at the risk of this show for the last couple of episodes has been heavy MCP. But I'm so glad to see a lot of people excited about it because I have gotten a few games in on Tabletop Simulator, and Marvel Crisis Protocol is very Tabletop Simulator friendly. So Aaron and I, who hopefully will join us in a little bit, have been able to get on and play, and it's been great. I haven't regretted jumping in, and I'm excited to see what Josh and JR stories to come out of it and stuff, and how much they like the game and stuff. But
I know we talked about this before, and I know you're not a big Deadpool fan.
No, I think it's freaking stupid.
but I think that Deadpool is really going to bring a lot of people into this game.
He is. Yeah. I think a lot of people are like, they like Deadpool's cool. I think he's cool if you're 13, but it is, he kind of.
What if you're like me and you're 13 and here?
Yeah. He doesn't. There's so, but if he's your thing, that's awesome. I'm glad. His stats were revealed this week, and they seemed very.
They're fluffy.
Very fluffy. I'm probably more fluffy than any of the other cards that I've seen as of yet.
I haven't looked at them yet. I haven't even got a game on Tabletop Simulator or on Tabletop. Hopefully tonight I'm going to play my first game.
Are you going to play in person?
Yeah, we're gonna play. We got some terrain. We're gonna clear off the pool table.
Bro, well, just hit me up anytime. Anytime on the evening, we'll throw some table. I've got a great mod for it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have all the new models, but it's got a lot of models in it.
I've never had any luck with Tabletop Simulator. Maybe we'll have to give it another try.
Well, this one,
I think that MCP is simple enough that it works well.
Yeah, it's just one model, not like squads of 10.
Yeah, I've been watching Mike and Aaron play, and it's been pretty smooth so far.
I'll have to check it out.
But we are talking about hobby. We just want to jump right into the topic at hand. I think we spend most of our time preparing to play. So we're putting together, for instance, Josh has just. I mean, I'm sure your fingers have been put in quite a workout because you went straight from cutting, gluing, and painting all in one, just one swoop.
Yeah. I bought about, I think, like 22 or 24 models in total. I got them all built in 3 days. And then I got probably about a third of them painted, at least tabletop ready to where I'd like, I wouldn't be ashamed to put them on the table.
Right.
All since Wednesday, right?
Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that.
I'm almost embarrassed
that
I painted 3 models since all that time.
Well, see, here's another thing that I wanted to talk about this week is we were talking about being in a hobby rut to where, like, I hadn't picked up a paintbrush because you guys remember I hurt my hand,
Right.
And that was, back in beginning of October. I hadn't picked up a paintbrush since maybe like a month before that. I was already just burned. I couldn't find the right primer for my salamanders, and I just didn't have the motivation to do it. Then I hurt my hand and was out for even longer. And then once my hand was healed, I just wasn't finding the motivation to get in and just pick up a paintbrush and start getting back at it. I was like, man, I got to paint a bunch of intercessors, and like I'm gonna paint a bunch of meltas, a bunch of the same old stuff, and I'm like having trouble finding the materials I need. It's gonna have to order it, and then like by the time it gets here, I've lost motivation, and then I was in a rut, like bad. I didn't know what to do, and then I saw Mike messing with these Marvel Crisis Protocol models, and I was like, well, that looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, but I saw Will messing with the Marvel Crisis Protocol models, and then I jumped in, and then Aaron bought the starter set.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, well, you know what? These look cool enough to paint, and they're fun to paint, and honestly, dude, they take super well to contrast paints. Like, contrast paints are just going on these guys. It makes them look like real comic booky, and they go real quick that way. So I've been having a blast with it.
I think this kind of harkens back to one of the episodes we did pre-YouTube days about building a community, and it just takes one person to be passionate enough about a game to get other people into it, and the more exposure a game gets, the more likely you are to be able to build that community, and I kind of think we're seeing that kind of happening right now.
Right, I hope so. I also like the. I like that. Again, it's a skirmish game, and the biggest benefit of skirmish games is like, I mean, I can bring my box of Crisis Protocol and my bag of Blood Bowl, and it's like, who wants to play what, and I'm happy to play either one of those on any given night. 40K, I'll probably pre-arrange a match and then just bring 40K. But that's what I like about the skirmish games, or in Blood Bowls, it's a box game, but it's definitely been cool. And like you, I was in a rut. I went hard on painting everything that I had, and then Thor and Valkyrie, Proxima Midnight, and Corvus Glaive, and all of the buildings and the big tanker gas truck that I had, which have been sitting here for over a month. I just did not have. And then once I saw you, Josh, get everything, I was like, let me just set up the paint. And I've got a little place in on the dining room table, as nobody uses a dining room table. I don't know why we have one. I set up all my paint and all my stuff, and it's got the big lamp there, and I started painting. And then next thing I know, I've got them all finished. Like right now, the shading on Corvus Glaive is being done, and he's the last thing I have. And then I will have everything that I've gotten so far has been completely painted. So I should be ready for returning to the tabletop at some point soon.
I think that one of the things that really kind of stuck with me is that after we did our last episode, my boy Billy Mondragon, and he called and we talked on the phone for a couple minutes after the last episode, and I told him the same thing. This is what kind of gave me the idea for the show, is that I told him I was in a rut. I said, especially when COVID hit, I was painting real hard because there was nothing else for me to do. So I painted, like a maniac. And I got burnt out, and then I quit for a while, and then I got back into it, and then I got burnt out again, and I was in a real bad rut. And so when I was having that conversation, he said the best advice that he could give me is to not force myself to paint. Because you're not gonna, if your heart's not in it, and you're not gonna be doing that good of a job, and then you're just not enjoying it, then what's the point? And so, he shared some videos with me, and we talked about it, and he said, just paint whatever you want, just because that's what you want to do, not because you're trying to meet a deadline, or say I got X amount of points of an army that you're trying to paint. And so, after Billy told me that, I kind of took that to heart, and I just started painting just these random models for no reason. Just because it happened to be sitting on my desk, or, out of nostalgia or whatever. And then once I started doing that, I kind of started breaking out of my rut and started kind of enjoying painting again. And then I got back into painting my army, but that really helped because it felt like less of a chore.
Yeah,
and
see,
that makes a lot of sense. Armies, that's what it feels like sometimes.
When I was painting my salamanders, it just felt like a daunting task, and especially like I said, like not being able to find the materials I needed, and knowing that I needed to have like X amount of points painted, like it was just overwhelming. And then when I saw the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, I was like, you know what? This just looks like something I want to paint.
Right.
It's something I want to do. It's not like I'm being forced to do it for any kind of like competitive reason or anything like that, because I'm not going to do this seriously, you know what I mean, but you know what I mean, like it's not like
right.
Tournament level, like,
right.
It's not organized play. It's more like, hey, grab some models, let's mess around.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just got me back. And what's funny is that, man, I'm finding all the stuff I need, like all the knives I need, colors I need, everything like that I was not able to find when I was in my rut. I'm finding it now that I'm I'm back into it.
Right, right. And I
I'm
think,
happy about.
Yeah, I think that this is gonna, I don't know if I would be able to communicate this correctly, but while all three of us love 40K, I feel like 40K is often used as like this measuring stick because we all love it. But as an Astra Militarum player, for instance, I just got about almost 60 Death Corps coming in, right? And I think about how awesome that is. But I think in my head that's going to be awesome on the table when it's all painted. But I'm just going to look at it for like 3 months. I do not want to paint this. but the Crisis Protocol or even the Blood Bowl or those smaller games that are not so daunting, it's just such a joy to paint these things. And with Crisis Protocol being that joy, it comes from these characters and these things. I mean, Jesus, who doesn't love comic books? It's be it Marvel or DC. Painting Spider-Man is a joy because when you finish him, it's like, I love Spider-Man, right? Or when you finish painting Thor, it's like, man, I love Thor so much, and it's just, I haven't really experienced that while playing another game, and it's certainly motivating to be able to. What's my next favorite character? I freaking love MODOK, and he's such a great model that it's like it wasn't a chore. It was definitely a joy. It's a weird way to phrase that, but it's what it felt like. It was like, man, I can't wait to paint this guy. He's one of my favorite characters, and I don't care about the Black Order. I wanted them, but they sat on for a while because I really don't care about them. But I wanted a bad guy affiliation, so I just jumped in on the Black Order, and I want Thanos, of course, and he looks badass.
I've got a Kingpin and Syndicate going, which is pretty dope.
So who do you have on your Syndicate right now?
Right now, I've got Kingpin, of course. I've got Taskmaster. I've got Crossbones that came with it. Somebody else. I can't remember who. I have to go look at the models.
Okay.
But then also, I'm going to throw Punisher in there just because I think it fits well. And I'm going to throw Sabretooth in there. And just to go with it. I think it's a cool little team. Looks pretty good so far. And the points are like right at 17. So. You
know who I was looking at his card, and again, this is about a hobby. It's gonna turn into Crisis Protocol, but it's just so awesome. You look at his card, and it's like, this guy sucks. But I played with him, and what he does for your team. I'm talking about the Red Skull. He's so amazing, and he's so amazing to be able to infuse himself to get power instantly. And then to move a character, like to basically slingshot MODOK into range and then have MODOK just start murdering people is pure awesomeness.
Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff you can do with movement in that game, it looks like. I don't know. That's how this, like a lot of skirmish games work still.
Right, it's all about movement. Yeah, I remember even Kill Team. Kill Team was about the movement. So, but anyways, definitely getting motivated I found being able to try to find something that makes you happy. And when I've never really I had a Space Wolves army, but that was really the only, Marine army I ever had, and I got rid of it. But I've played orcs. I'm an idiot. Because I've played orcs and I played Astra Militarum, and that just like really bums you out, painting wise. It is such a pain in the ass. It really is.
It can be daunting. I mean, I have right now on my hobby desk right in front of me, I have 40 Poxwalkers.
I was getting ready to say, yeah, you Poxwalkers. Right. And, yeah.
And in fact, I those were actually next on my list to paint, but instead I started painting these doggone. The
Gellerpox.
The Gellerpox guys, because I was like, I just rather just knock them out than do this monotonous task of painting 40 Poxwalkers. But I think, because we keep talking about MCP, I think one of the good things about that is that it's easier to get a sense of accomplishment because it's not like you're painting a 2,000 point Catachan army or Salamander's army, which, you're going to feel the accomplishment in a way because you completed this one unit, like I finished these Gellerpox guys today, but you don't have a completed army. But with MCP, because the game only requires just a handful of models, you're like, my Black Order's done.
Right.
I've got all 5 of them. Here, I'm done. I'm ready to hit the table. I'm ready to play. Or here's my 5 Avengers or my 5 Spider Foes or whatever you need to play the game. But you get that sense of accomplishment like, this is a done army. There's nothing else I have to add to this to this force to be able to play the game, where in 40K, that's a little bit harder to get because you have 100 Catachin models that has to go into your 2,000 point army.
Right.
See, I get that feeling just from completing one character, because what's cool about it is, a lot of the characters can go into multiple factions. So I'm like, all right, Wolverine's done. That means I can use Wolverine in any situation where I feel like using Wolverine. Like, cool.
Right.
He's done. He's like, I feel like every character is like, well, they're heroes, so they're all, I get a sense of accomplishment from finishing anybody.
Yeah, 100%. And I have just such a deep, with some characters more than others, just a deep, profound love for this little mini and the Captain America. He's my favorite. If I get a tattoo type thing, I mean, I have but if I were to get a comic book tattoo, it would be Captain America. He's my favorite, 100%. But I will say, because it always seems like it's like we speak it in negative tones. But when I think the last time I played 40K was when it was me, Andy against Will, before the break, and Will, me and you showed Andy how to play 8th edition, I guess. Do you remember that?
We were doing the campaign over at COG before Rona. That was the last time.
Okay, that's right. That's right. But specifically before that, when you came down to Alamo Ranch and we played with Andy.
Yeah, when it was just the three of us.
Yeah, just three. I got there early, and I always do this with 40K. And I set out my guys because I got my 2,000 point list, and I set them out in parade formation, and they're all painted. And then you look at it and you're like, damn, that is an accomplishment. Beautiful. I'm happy with the way they came out. They look great. And that is on a bigger level than getting getting Spider-Man, whom I love, Captain America, whom I love, but like filling the table with your tanks and 5 10-man infantry squads and multiple officers and heavy weapon squads and some chimeras and all of that. And it's just glorious, you know what I mean? And not to mention the stuff that I didn't bring from home that's on the shelf, but I didn't get it on this list. And it's super. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like your whole army being just beautiful.
I agree wholeheartedly. And let me preface this with my stating that I am not trying to shit on 40K in any way, shape, or form.
It's still the first love.
Right. Absolutely. I'm just merely saying that it's a bit of a daunting task trying to complete a much bigger army as opposed to several small models. And again, I'm not shitting on the game, so I don't want anybody that might be listening to be like, hey, Will's being negative about 40K, because 40K is still my number one love. But it is a lot harder to get that accomplished. But what you're saying though, Mike, that's my motivation to paint. A lot of the folks that we talk to in the hobby, they love to paint. That's their jam, and they enjoy it. And slapping paint on a model and saying, "Hey, I'm done," and I completed this. That's not me. My only motivation to paint is out of sportsmanship and respect for the people that I'm going to play against. And I figure if you're going to put all that time into painting, you're going to get your army completed, then the least I can do is try to meet you on equal ground and at least have my stuff tabletop ready.
Right. I don't think I've ever had that consideration. You're a better guy than I am. But I have always made it a personal goal is I'll buy these Ogrins, right? And I got 9 Ogrins or whatever. And I can't wait to field them in this army, but they won't get to the table until they're painted. That's just me. If I play somebody who's gray, I don't care. There was, for the longest time, I was gray guy because I wasn't comfortable with painting, but I always put together models. Like, some people do it in sub-assemblies. They're like, well, it's easier to paint them before I put the arms on or the heads on. I'm like, nah. I'm putting it all together.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I'm putting it all together so I can play with this gray army. And then as I matured down the line as far as experience goes, now I'm not. They're not going to see the table gray. That's just me.
I'm trying to get there. I'm not there yet because that's not my jam. But I'm trying to be a better sportsman about it and at least get it done. But that's why this whole push to get my Death Guard completed has come from. Is because, like I said, I think that I'm never going to win a Golden Demon, but the least I can do is build a tabletop quality army.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I just want them to just, as long as they look good from like 2.5 feet away, I'm cool.
That's what I tell people all the time. I operate off the 3-foot rule because that's
Exactly.
about how far my opponent's going to be away from looking at my army. And as long as they look good from 3 feet away, then
Right.
I'm good with that.
The table is like waist high, right? Waist high, belly button high. So, yeah. As a matter of fact, we have the little our Facebook group, and I took a picture of this. I hadn't shared it. Who's that jumped in? Is that Billy?
It's Billy.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you mute that, bro?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Hey, real quick though, I wanted to say something on Will. I actually like what you said about it being out of respect for your opponents and for what they and the effort that they put in.
Yeah, I get that. I get that painting these armies is a huge thing, and a lot of time and effort and discipline goes into that. And I can respect that that's how they enjoy the game. So it's the least I can do is try to meet on equal ground.
What a guy, ladies and gentlemen.
I respect the fact that you just take the effort because like I will never criticize anybody on their skill level, their paint jobs, or anything else. As long as they put forth the effort, like I respect that.
Absolutely.
I'm not an artist by any means, and like some of the stuff that I put out, like it isn't going to be the best. Like you said, I'm not going to win gold demons for it, but I'm proud of like the fact that I was able to accomplish putting together a whole army, and I'm not going to take the wind out of anybody else's sails and try to criticize them for what they put out. And I think that's a big thing too. And it's just out of respect because I mean everybody's at different skill levels, and that's the whole point about it. It's supposed to be a hobby that we all enjoy.
I agree wholeheartedly. But I will say, let me say to kind of add a little perspective here. Now that I am honestly putting in an effort, I'm not going to say my mindset has changed, but I can definitely appreciate how much of my stuff is painted and how the game looks differently, and that there is a bit of a different dynamic now that my army is painted. Now, I can appreciate I've seen your models look great, and I can appreciate what you've done and how good they look on the table, but I never really cared if mine look good or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now that I'm actually putting in an honest effort, and I mentioned, because Anthony and I was talking about this a couple days ago, because they've discontinued my Model Masters glue, so I've been on this like crazy kick to try to find a replacement so I can keep building models. But we were in the car and we were talking about it, and I'm like, I gotta admit now that I am fielding a painted force, it makes the game look a lot different, a lot better, a lot more dynamic, and it's a lot more interesting of a game.
Yeah, 100%.
Can I jump off topic here for a second?
Absolutely. Did you see how we started the show? I think we'll be okay.
There's no agenda.
All right. So tell me more about this special glue you have that you have to use.
It doesn't exist anymore. It's
Because I just use whatever. I use I don't even like.
It was Tester's Model Masters glue, and it just doesn't exist anymore. They discontinued the product, and so you can't find it. But it's relatively the same glue that everybody else is using for like testers and stuff. But this one comes with a metal needle, and so like the ones that you put the caps on, a lot of time the glue will solidify in the tube in the needle, and then you can't get it out without cutting off the needle or whatever. But if it dries in here, then you just take a cigarette lighter,
right,
and then heat up the glue, and then it clears out the nozzle, and then you just keep going back. But also because it's a metal needle, it's a lot more precise. So when I'm putting glue on something, I have a little bit more control over it.
Right. I mean, that's what the GW uses. Yeah. And I didn't know about that. Clearing it out.
GW makes great models. They make shit glue. Their glue is hot garbage.
Right.
I've never used their glue, but their snippers kick ass.
The snippers are great. I have those too. I like their snippers, but their glue is hot garbage.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
I agree. I've been using Gorilla Glue, like the Gorilla Super Glue, the gel in the thin set.
Dude, that's the one I use. I usually use the one with the yellow cap that has the screw off top that has the brush. It has like a super glue brush on the inside of it, so you can just kind of like brush on the glue, which is super convenient.
Yeah, man.
Little tip though, if you use accelerant, don't use your brush.
I don't ever use accelerant, so.
Yeah, because I had used that on one of mine by accident. I didn't even realize it, but I had gotten some accelerant on the brush, and then I put it back in the bottle, and it just glued the whole bottle.
I can see that happening. Yeah, I can see that.
But I don't see, for me personally, and this is a personal choice, so if anybody disagrees or whatever it is, what it is, but I don't use super glue on plastic models.
Yeah, same here. Well,
I use plastic glue.
Well,
and then I use this Loctite cheapo.
That's what I use. Yep.
Glue. You buy it at Walmart at the counter as an impulse buy. This is some of the better super glue, and I'll use that on my resin. I'll use that on my metal, but I won't use it on plastic. And that's just a personal preference. It's not like one's better or not.
And why is that? Because I use the super glue on my plastic models specifically because I screw them up all the time. So I feel like I
snap it off.
To be able to freeze them and snap them apart if need be.
Well, with the super glue,
you're the same as me. You're the same as me. That's why I use super glue too, because I keep making mistakes. Because plastic glue is more of a permanent bond because it fuses them.
But the difference is that if I use super glue to build a plastic model, and as soon as I stick them together, then it's going to solidify. It's done. So if I'm wonky, then now I got a crazy arm that's in the wrong way because as soon as I put it on there, now it's an instant bond. But with plastics glue, because it chemically melts the plastic, I can move it around and make sure that I get it in the right position. Then I hold it for 5 seconds or whatever, and then it solidifies once it's in the right position.
Right. To your point, like sometimes they this happened at least 3 times with the Crisis Protocols, that sometimes they have like Captain Marvel has got a tiny surface area that goes onto the base, and so does Corvus Glaive. So I was just painting Corvus Glaive, real small, and I was just painting Corvus Glaive, and I super glued the model to the base, and then I primed it and I painted. Well, I guess it didn't fuse well, and I'm sitting there painting him, and he snapped off of the base. Well, the base already has paint on it. Corvus Glaive already has paint on it. So unless I file it off to get to plastic, it's not going to fuse. So then I super glue it.
Hey, did you have trouble with Ultron's legs?
Yes.
They were, dude. I could not, for the life of me, like.
I dropped a piece on the carpet and I thought I was going to cry.
That was the worst model to put together.
The Ultron was the worst.
It was awful, and like now my Ultron, like I'm gonna just go ahead and say this even though we're on podcast. He looks like shit. He looks like his legs look like shit. I'm gonna have to take a file to him and some green stuff and some. He's gonna need some damn repairs.
What's funny is I was talking to Josh about the models look amazing, and kudos, but they are still monoposed. So they need to go poach GW's monopose guy and I told Josh this, and it's still unbelievable. Freaking Peter Quill, Star-Lord's head is goddamn 5 separate pieces. It's the left side, the right side, the top, the bottom. I mean, and then the back. Yeah, and then the faceplate. It's insane. I'm like, this is a freaking monopose model, dude. Just bottle the head and let me snip it off at the neck, for God's sake. It's freaking ridiculous.
At least with Ant-Man, like his head's all one piece, and then you have the little antennae that go on the side of his head. Like, I can understand that, but there was no need for Star-Lord's head to be in that many pieces.
Or like Thor, like he's got his helmet and then he's got the wings. Well, the wings are separate, man. Like, I'm like, why is that not on his damn head? Right? Because then I'm like, if I fat finger it and it goes into the carpet, and I'm like, well, game over. That's it.
So Kenneth says that's why we pin models. And I agree. If it's a metal model, I will pin a metal model all day. And so if you're listening and you don't know what pinning is,
that's OG.
It's where you drill corresponding holes in between the two pieces, and then you use like a paper clip or something like that to splice the two pieces together. It creates a better bond. I pin for metal, and I will pin for heavy resin pieces, but I won't pin for like small little arms and stuff like that in plastic.
You had to. Yeah, if you had the old orc knobs, the metal orc knobs, it was pin City Central.
Well, luckily that the game has evolved to the point that we don't really have to pin these days. Even with like some of the resin models, it's unnecessary. But back in the day, when most of your back when I first started 40K, and this is 15 years ago, all your characters were metal. Every one of them, no questions asked. And so the only way to get your arms on is you had to drill into the shoulder and then put a paper clip in there and then drill into the arm and then match them up. And then like Billy was talking about with the accelerant, you use the accelerant to make the super glue
instantly. Yeah, it was in this little spray.
Oh Jesus, the old Bloodthirster, the baby Bloodthirster, the old metal one that came out before this new kit. Oh my God, like that guy, you could never get his wings to stay on without pinning. Like there's no way.
Abaddon and his arms was another one that was real bad, and if you couldn't pin them, then they would slide straight off. And as a Tyranid player, the old metal Red Terror was another one that I have that model. It's in like 16 pieces because I won't touch it. It is a horrible turd. But Simon says in the chat that they still have my glue on.
I'm looking at it.
Unfortunately, they don't. It is not the Models Masters version. It's the regular Testers, and so it has the nozzle is plastic rather than metal. So, but to that point, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the glue that Simon's talking about, and I'm going to see if I can.
Simon's turning our podcast to a house of lies.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can take and then put that because the metal nozzle of that glue is removable. I'm going to see if I can put the glue in there and then put the metal nozzle back in there so I don't have to use the plastic one.
I bet you can.
We'll see. I don't know.
$5 says you can't. Watch.
To be fair, to qualify all of this is that I am the guy that does not like change. And so I'm sure there are other equivocal glues out there that are just as good. I'm not one to switch. I've been using Model Masters for 15 years now.
Dude, it's
all a preference.
It's funny because you start talking about pinning and all the old models. And there was something awesome about having those old metal models, and it's something also terrible because I remember like even the knobs were like 25 millimeter, and those sons of bitches would always just fall over because they, the big, double shooter and then a freaking power claw, all of it metal, and they're just weighed forward. And like I remember one of them was already kind of stepping forward, so he was already slanted forward. Oh, it was a big pain in the ass.
And all the old org models were like weird, like they're like in Talladega Nights where Will Ferrell's giving the interview and he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. That was all the old orc models because they were just like Wild West and shooting everywhere and shit.
That's how I feel every podcast. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my face or my hands. Like, what am I supposed to do?
You just got to turn the camera off so you don't have to look at yourself. That's what I do.
Well, man, the old Rogue Trader ones were even worse because they were all like hunchback orcs. So like they were actually designed. I don't know if you remember those kits, but they were an old plastic kit, and they were the original multi-part kits. But they were like all the orcs looked like they were like hunchbacked and hunched over, and they were like all leaning forward. So even though their legs were straight up and down, like their body was tilted like almost like where it was like laying down. And they had like this big like bulb on their back.
Beautiful.
I'm not that old, Billy. I'm not that old, man.
I wish was this metal Necron flayed ones were a pain.
But they're about to come out with plastic flayed ones after
only $160 behind a $160 paywall.
Well, so GW did post on their website that those models should be available in their own individual packages within weeks of that release.
Right, like the Obliterator, yeah.
Technically, 52 weeks is still within weeks, but it's still a year later, so who knows?
The $160 paywall.
The Kill Team Pariah Nexus is the only place you can get the plastic flayed ones and the plastic heavy intercessors. Right at the moment.
So I'm gonna get on my high horse about Kill Team again, and
Please don't.
at the risk of sounding like an asshole, those are the only ways to get those models. And I wouldn't be opposed to it if they updated everything in the game, but the only thing they've updated is
The Space Marines and the Necrons.
And the Space Marines.
So if you're a Chaos, and this is true, listen, we love Kill Team, man. Like, at least the two top guys there. I like Kill Team.
I don't dislike Kill Team. And I'm going to qualify my previous statements is I only dislike how the company handled the game.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I agree with that. I love Kill Team, but I have no desire to play it right now because it hasn't changed in like 2 years.
So
Kill Team was a great game, but the company did not handle it well. And this Pariah Nexus box only solidifies my stance on the game.
No,
because they're updating the models for Necrons, they're updating the models for Space Marines, but why not Death Guard?
Yeah.
Why not
Chaos.
Tau or anybody else? And so you may argue that those are the only codexes that have been updated. What about the Death Guard codex? It's updated. Are we going to get extra wounds on the Plague Marines running around?
No, not at the moment. So Josh, what he's saying is that the Pariah Nexus little rulebook that's in there updates the data sheets for Kill Team to coincide with their 9th edition counterparts, including Firstborns getting 2+, Heavy Bolters doing 2 damage, but the Chaos, all those other ones are not new data sheets and stuff. So,
but since,
I didn't know the box was $160.
It's either 160 or 1.
And what models come in it? Like
the Heavy Intercessors,
$160.
Heavy Intercessors, the Heavy Intercessor Captain, Flayed Ones, and the Cryptex with the Rubik's Cube. I don't know what his name is because I don't play Necrons.
The Chronomancer.
There you go. That's the one.
So now, but to be fair.
What is that, like 15, 16 models?
There's also terrain and mats and stuff.
No, but it's like arena terrain. It's like 2D terrain with a couple of scatter pieces. Now, to be fair,
it's not a bad price point, and the box itself is not my issue. The price point on the box is not my issue. The Heavy Intercessors is going to be a $60 box in and of itself. That character is at least $35 to $40 by itself.
Yeah.
The price point is not the problem with that box.
It's just right now that the people have been waiting for those particular models, and then they release it with the Kill Team. So those that are impatient are going to have to buy this, as opposed to the box. It is what it is. But Kill Team has an identity crisis when they started updating data sheets in big 40K piecemeal.
They're doing it a la carte rather than updating into doing, because the good thing about Kill Team, and don't get me wrong, I love Kill Team. I love the fact that when they came out with Kill Team, they said, here's one book with all the units in this book. Here it is. You don't have to wait for codex updates, any of that stuff. It was its own self-contained game. And they could have kept that same model and updated all the units, or waited until all the units were updated to update Kill Team specifically. And again, that's my gripe about the company handling the game, not the game itself. I like that the game was self-contained.
It's out of control. Like, I was watching a video of the new data sheets for Space Marines. Bro, I think I stopped counting at 17, 18, 19, 20 data sheets for Space Marines.
But that's exactly my issue. Like, you got, again, everybody knows that I'm a big Death Guard guy. They got 5 units, and one of those is the Lord Contagion.
Yeah, so they got a commander, they got the Plague Marines, they got the Poxwalkers, they got the Terminators and Elites. And I think that's it.
And yet there's 25 Space Marine.
Yeah, there's like 20 or something.
Drakari don't have anywhere near that. Tau don't have, well, they have a little bit more than Death Guard, but it's still pretty limited compared to the Space Marine counterparts. And now the podcast is kind of turning into a let's bitch about Space Marines kind of thing, but
but I always get that.
It always does. We have to have this every 10, 15 minutes,
But
that's Mike's.
I like Space Marines. I literally have like Space Marines sitting here on my desk that I'm working on. But there has to be a balance to have a good game.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We're about to be in March 1st tomorrow. I mean, okay, guys, we're in March. What's coming after Drukhari? For the love of God. I mean, what the hell is going on?
Kenneth says, don't forget about Infinity. It's a skirmish game too. Never miss an opportunity to kind of just force Infinity in there.
Like if you say the word skirmish, Kenneth will show up just like if you say the word Blood Bowl.
It's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times. Kenneth is gonna appear.
Man.
But Simon says in the chat, I love Kill Team before the current versions. I'm not saying that, Kenneth. If you want to read what he says, it's in the chat. But Kenneth says, Simon says, I love Kill Team before the current edition. And I'm assuming, Simon, you mean the old Kill Team that was previous editions, which was 40K in 40 minutes? So if you could clarify that in the comments, let's see what you're
well,
mean about that.
40K in 40 minutes. I remember that from back when me and Simon used to play each other at the old Alien Worlds, before it moved into the theater. But they had a kill team. I think it was like Kill Team like Armageddon or something like that. It was like a 7th edition, 6th edition version of Kill Team.
Well, Shadow War Armageddon was a separate game than Kill Team. Shadow War Armageddon was actually Necromunda rules.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was. Yeah, they were trying to sneak it back in and try to capitalize off of it. And that was right before, because right after that they realized that Kill Team dropped. I think it was about a year later.
But they ended up. I'm going off topic here, but this is all conversations eventually lead to it. Thanks, Kenneth. But Shadow War Armageddon, I felt, was them testing the waters to see how well Necromunda would do if they re-released it. But there was previous iterations of Kill Team, and then if Adam Baldwin was in the chat right now, he'd tell you all about the Heralds of Ruin Kill Team, which was its own standalone thing as well.
I got to play a game with him. That was pretty cool. But I will say, look, here's how you fix Kill. Here's how you fix Kill Team. Okay. Necromunda is the bomb. If I want to play Khaldor, right, I buy the Khaldor box set, and it's got the options, and I can outfit my guys. They release another box set, right, is to add to that gang. Kill Team needs to have its own boxes like that, man. It's kind of bullshit that I got to go and buy a 40K box just to get a few intercessors.
You're right back.
Yeah.
I gotta go hit the John.
To that point, I think that is the point of Kill Team. We said this in the
I know, but
in our episode when we were talking about skirmish games. I think that the only reason, and I apologize for saying this ahead of time if you're a Kill Team fan. I am not shitting on Kill Team, but I think Kill Team only exists in the capacity to get more people into 40K. It's a gateway drug. Start playing Kill Team, and eventually you will buy enough models to be able to play big 40K.
Which is exactly like Robert and Andy and Josh, exactly how they got into 40K.
What's funny, though, is for me, it's kind of been the other way around, because, like, for crying out loud, I've got a Death Guard army that probably rivals, like, most anybody here in town. And I never, ever play it or field it outside of the, 5 models I play in my Kill Team for Death Guard, because I play Kill Team, a lot more than I've been playing 40K lately. And it's the same thing with AOS. I mean, you know that I'm a huge AOS player. I mean, I even organized a Slambo. But, all those big games that I've been playing lately, I've been playing at smaller points, and I've actually been having a lot more fun doing them at smaller points and doing them at, skirmish levels than I have been playing them, in the bigger games. And that's not to say the big games don't have their place, but it's just, to me, it's a lot better when you and I can play 2 or 3 games in an hour and a half than us just play one game where somebody gets waffle stomped and
takes all night.
To come back. Yeah, you don't have that chance to come back and play a good game.
But to that point, I think that the intention of even the Age of Sigmar come out with that skirmish edition, and I think that was only intended to get people into big Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, but they did what I was talking about. Age of Sigmar came out with, I'm assuming you're talking about Warcry, which is their
No. Age of Sigmar Skirmish is separate than Warcry.
Okay.
Those are two very different games. Age of Sigmar Skirmish was one book, and then it was completely unsupported. They dropped it like a bad habit.
Okay.
And then now Warcry exists.
Because Warcry has its own boxes. That's what, frankly, that's if they wanted Kill Team to be able to have competitive without having to worry about the baggage that it currently has, changes between editions, non-parity. It's horrible balance between what's available between the factions. They should have come out with like, here's a pre-built Astra Militarum team just like Warcry. That would have just made it its own thing. Would have been a lot better.
But then some people might argue that the Pariah Nexus is their attempt to do that. But the problem with the Pariah Nexus is that you have 400 points of Space Marines and 140 points of Necrons.
Yeah.
There's a huge disparity between the two factions. So, but that's our digression of shitting all over skirmish games. So, so I get let's wrangle us back to.
So let me get this back on track before we get to hobby. Number one, 9th edition, 8th edition stratagems, worst thing that ever happened to the game. Auras and rerolls, horrifying. Should be completely left out. Go back to 6th edition, my favorite edition. Taking the headquarters can change the force organizational chart. That was peak. That was, at least for me, peak Warhammer. None of the rest of shenanigans. It's data sheet versus data sheet. The abilities on abilities. None of this gotcha bullshit. None of this rerolls. All right, got it out of the way with this podcast. We can move on back to hobbying.
So, Mike, what are you working on hobby wise now? Because I mean that's our what we're talking about.
Right.
We've talked about how we hobby, why we hobby, but what are we hobbying? So, what are you working on, sir?
I gotta at this probably within the next 2 days. I will finish touching up the last of my Marvel Crisis Protocol. So I will have 100% everything that I have will be done, and then I will probably move on to the Blood Bowl Season 2 starter set. I haven't painted those guys yet, so I'm going to get on that.
So how many models does that put you up to with your MCP force? Because, I mean, hell, you've pumped out 3 buildings this week alone for MCP. How many of the models for the game as a whole, not individual factions, have you got so far?
Starter set, all of the Guardians. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All the Black Order, Thor, Valkyrie, Hulk, MODOK. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't even. How many come in the start? 10?
10, yeah.
10? 10 plus it's a 16. We got 25? 20, 22, 25-ish? They're all Corvus Glaive is the last one. Then I'll go and do a little bit of touch-ups. But I bought the starter set, of course, it has the terrain, and then I bought the expansion starter set, which is essentially the terrain from the starter set. And then I bought the truck, because I got that for a killer deal on eBay. And I built the gasoline Oscorp truck out of that. So now I have all the terrain, and then I bought the mat, and that should be in like Wednesday from Amazon. So
I got the mat too.
Did you feel misled by that box?
No, I asked you before I went ahead and bought it, but I think it's like 30-something bucks. I was able to get it for 24 on eBay.
What box?
But I kind of felt like
you're talking about the truck box, right?
The truck box.
Yeah, I did.
This is my own fault, and I'm not blaming anybody because I half-assed reading the box. I thought both vehicles came in the box, but it's one vehicle with an option of the rear end being the Obscort tanker or the trash truck.
Yeah.
And so when I got it, I was like, "What the hey? Where's my second truck?" And then I read the box, and it's like, "Oh, it builds one or the other." So I kind of felt gypped.
Yeah.
But Brian Fox says the OG Kill Team was in 4th edition, and the chapter approved. It was totally a narrative-driven rather than match play. I think that's still. I agree, and I because I started playing back in 4th edition, but Kill Team I still think is more narrative than match play. I mean, there is tournament play, but I think you play for fun and for narrative missions rather than match play.
Right. What about Josh? What I mean, obviously you went all in on Crisis Protocol.
I went all in on Crisis Protocol, definitely. But I was going to be going all in on Blood Bowl, but I traded a little bit of electrical work and a little bit of plumbing work, and I got somebody to paint my lizards for me, and they look amazing. But I got that. Andy. Andy painted them.
Andy.
Shout out to Andy and his badass painting skills, man. He's pumping stuff out for people left and right.
Oh man, these lizards that he painted for me, the blue on them, they just look fantastic. They look super good. I can't wait to put them on a board and learn how to play that game. But that's the next thing after Crisis Protocol that I'm going to do is I've got that second edition Blood Bowl box that, I mean, I did that unboxing video, and that's the last time I touched the box.
Yeah.
So,
well, I already have 3 teams fully painted. So these 2 teams are just gravy. But I do have to paint them. So
yeah, I need to build them. I need to learn the rules, take them out of their packages, build them, and then I can have 2 teams to play with that way.
Right.
I was gonna give one team away, but then I was like, you know what? I might as well just keep them both. That way, I can have enough models to do like teaching games.
It's like it's a new edition, so I'm excited to see how well I continue to stay on the sideline when I have the ball. You look like an idiot.
Dude, when I play Blood Bowl, it's like just all right. Well, I guess that happened now. All right, turnover. Go ahead, take the ball, Mike. You're the only one I ever play against.
Yeah,
So.
I'm not even mad that just happened or whatever. So
that's just how it works.
Yeah.
I think the beauty of Blood Bowl is that it's not a hard game to learn, but it's a hard game to master.
Oh, definitely. I'll agree with that 100%. Mastering, I mean, there's guys that have been playing Blood Bowl for a long time, and the rules, you know, that's I think me and Mike talked about this one evening, is that's kind of a staple of a good game, is that the rules don't really change that much, and people continue to play it and continue to make their own leagues without any support from the company. Like, Blood Bowl hasn't got a new edition since this second edition, since I don't
Yeah,
even
but
know
every
it.
quarter they get a release. Like, kind of like you were like, where are all the Necromunda players? But every quarter, Blood Bowl and Necromunda get a release.
Well, Necromunda still existed, but it was in garages in the same way that Mordheim existed. So we did have a Blood Bowl 3rd edition, but that was the last edition that was released early 2000s, I think, when that was the last release. But those fans were so diehard that they kept playing. They would not let that game die. And the players are, I don't want to say fanatical, but they are passionate about that game in a way that no other game that I have ever seen before.
Well, we created the living rulebook that was a part of it, and that's kind of what kept it going.
Yeah.
Campus thing where the living rulebook filled in for a lot of the stuff, and GW, to their credit, actually took a lot of stuff from that living rulebook into the newer edition. And they listened and they fixed a lot of the problems that were glaringly broken with the game. I mean, there's still some things, but I mean, for the most part now, it plays a lot smoother than what it used to, and there's a lot more clarification as far as what happens.
And to your point, Josh, the game is still fundamentally the same. They've only tweaked the rules, like Pile-On and a few other things have changed, but the game is fundamentally still the same 20-something years, 30 years later.
They've taken
and it's still fun.
Right. They've baked in the attempt and action gives you a +1, and then you start doing your modifiers for tackle zones. It's now just baked in. Instead of +1, they just give you a target number now, like 8th edition did with, and AOS did with their data sheets. So, you know, dodge on a 4+, 3+, what have you.
Well, I think they recognize that there is a certain level of convolution that existed in the game, and they want to make sure that the game has very low barriers for new players. So, like, if you're playing, like, say Mike, you and Josh have never played before, you teaching each other or learning the game together is very different than saying, Mike, you've played, and now you're teaching Josh to play. it's a very different experience. And I think that they are recognizing that, and they want to make sure that the game is, inclusive and is easy for everybody to be able to join this game.
I personally don't feel like Blood Bowl is easy to learn, easy to teach, or easy to play. Personally, that's how I feel. I feel like it's one of the more difficult tabletop games that we deal with, like in
How many games have
circles.
you got in so far?
Like actual tabletop games? None. I've gotten 0.
Yeah, we play mostly online, which is the same system.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'm missing something there, because maybe somebody actually teaching me, but me looking at that rule book myself and then thinking about like trying to learn it with somebody else that doesn't know anything, because I got my roommates here that'll always play any game that I want with me, you know what I mean? They'll at least try. But it definitely seems like something that's a little intimidating to me, and
Right.
I'm not usually put off by rules or anything like
Well,
that.
we got a real simple fix. I got a deck with a table, and we got Mike, you, and me. We all got teams. Let's plan a day, man. We'll play outside.
Let me know too. I've got 7 painted teams.
Yeah, we'll do this in a very COVID safe, type thing, so that everybody's, comfortable, and we'll play several games.
Sounds like fun to me, man.
And it's funny because one of the things we're working on, my wife right now, we're trying to buy a new house, and so we're putting in an offer on a house tomorrow. But my only stipulation for the new house is that it had to have a game room.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care what else. I was like, my wife, she could pick whatever she wanted. She picked the kitchen. She picked the number of rooms. I don't care, as long as I had a game room. And so when the house that we're going to put the offer in, it has a dedicated game room, and I'm going to have a 4-foot by 4-foot table set up specifically for Necromunda, Kill Team, Blood Bowl, stuff like that. And then I'll have the bigger table to do.
Basically, it was like, I want a room for Necromunda. I want a room for Blood Bowl. I want a room for 40K.
Just one room for all of it.
After that, sweetheart, everything is yours.
Well, right now I'm in the garage, as you can see, but it's not temperature controlled. But I want something that I am available, and like Kenneth is telling me just to build one, and originally that was my idea, but my family has some health issues, and so I need to be accessible. And so I need to be able to be within earshot. So having something in the house would be great, but also separate. Like, so on Sundays we have our hobby day, and it's me and 3 of my nerd friends at my dinner table for 5 hours. And my wife is like, all right, your nerd thing's over. Pack up your shit and get out of my house.
Get the fuck out of my house. Clear up.
Yeah. So having a dedicated space for that will be nice. So hopefully in the next few months when we do our broadcast, you won't have to look at all this. But
gonna be.
I said we set some games up, man. I appreciate COVID for what it is. Have the utmost respect for what it is. But I'm ready to start rolling some dice again.
Me too.
And I am too. So I've gotten both of my shots. Everybody in my family except for my wife. So I think the approach that we've come this far, and once she's all taken care of, I think that we're gonna. That's when you'll probably see me. So hopefully sooner than later. But we're all very excited. My family's a bunch of diabetics, so Hispanics and puffy tacos will do that to you.
Yeah, me and my wife are all 5G'd up too.
Yeah, that's what I say. Say things straight up 5G'd.
Well, we're not diabetics in the house, but my wife and I are both vets, and we have health complications that's related to our service, so that makes it a little more difficult. And so we have to be appreciative of the situation that's going on with COVID. And
right.
Of course, for those that are listening, we're not going to try to put anybody in an unsafe or uncomfortable position by making people go out and play or anything like that. That's not what we're trying to do.
Go out and play Blood Bowl right now.
That's not true at all, Will. I remember that time in the back of the Volkswagen.
We said we'd never talk about that.
All right, my bros. Any last minutes?
No, man. I think that the best thing that we can do right now in giving the current environment we're dealing with is keep hobbying, whatever that means to you, whether it's building, whether it's painting or whatever. But don't let the COVID blues, get you down. Don't let the daunting task of completing your army stop you from being able to hobby and enjoy again, whatever that means to you.
Well
And
said, my
switch it
man.
up. If something's making you bored, switch it up. Just keep it going, man. Keep it moving. Find something to do. But
At the end of the day, this should be fun. It's not a chore. It's not a task. It should be fun. It's a hobby.
Yeah, I sent you pictures of the my Mandy Ogren and Grogrot.
Yeah, your Gogu Grot. Or well, I guess they're not Grot. They're what are they for ogre?
Snotlings or whatever. Or
Yeah.
I forgot what they're called now too. I should know. They're basically Snotlings. But yeah.
all right.
All right, my broskies. Well, everybody have a good night, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the next Red Star Roundtable.
Adios.
Take care. Happy gaming.